How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. Good to be back with all of you. I had major work obligations. Still do. I'm doing a lot right now, so I had to take 2 days off. Good to be back. A lot has happened. Neptune's retrograde. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces. Mercury's now in Leo. Today, Venus in Cancer is going to be trining Saturn. So we can start to feel the positive upswing of this Saturn retrograde today. I feel like things that we're revising, things that we're looking over, things that we haven't seen clearly, things that we didn't see at all, that have maybe hindered us, I think can start to pop out today and reveal itself and show itself, and we can start to find better solutions and really better creative ideas, and definitely from those intuitive hunches that really can come through instinctually in the gut. We could feel it. Like, today's one of these days with Venus and Cancer trining Saturn and Pisces. It's like when we have a strong feeling and a strong hunch and a strong intuition about something, and it feels serious. It feels like, oh, like that's a real, like, I need to go with that. Right? You need to trust the instincts. And that could lead to real solid creative solutions, especially with things that, have been coming up in the past, things that need to be reworked, revised, everything. So this Venus and Saturn today are supporting each other, definitely with the more serious side of things. And yeah, just being more concrete in our ideas, and the ideas that we're really trying to express, and that maybe have been repressed, or the subconscious kind of cyclical loops that we kind of stay stuck in. I feel like Venus is also helping us kind of break out of that, and break out of that Piscean Cancer kind of more subdued, introverted energy, right? And bring it more out to the physical world. And I think that's what the Saturn retrograde is teaching us, is to bring spirit in, bring the divine energy in, to make it more physical and to make it more real. And Venus is helping us find more intuitive, creative solutions that are going to bring more security, bring more nurturing into our lives, and bring more flow into our lives, but also bring more awareness, more spiritual awareness, more spiritual evolution, and more solidity. Even when things don't feel so solid right now, with Neptune going retrograde as of yesterday, Saturn retrograde. I mean, so there is this awakening that's happening right now. And we've been somewhat asleep, right? And I don't mean sleep on a collective level. I mean more in a, in a more practical level, right? Yes, on a collective level, there's been a massive spiritual awakening that we can trace back to 2011, 2012, when Neptune was in Pisces. We've seen how that's transformed in the world. We've seen how people have transformed spiritually in the world, even since really 2018. Just in the spiritual world, in the astrology world, it's like, 6 years ago, astrology was far more taboo than it is now. Now it's a common conversation. It's part of a greeting at this point. It's like, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. What's your big three? Like, we've changed a lot. We've spiritually evolved a lot, and we've also broken down a lot of old beliefs and old belief systems with Pluto and Capricorn, and we're about to go through the last swing of that. We're about to have Venus opposing Pluto, and of course today with Mercury now in Leo, wherever Mercury opposed Pluto. So when it comes to what Venus and Saturn are really helping us, bring in today, and that very strong support, I feel like Venus is creating a support system that Neptune and Saturn need right now. And Mercury opposite Pluto too. It is. It's like, we don't need to get so caught up in the emotional thought patterns, or being overly serious or, forgetting about what really is, being a lively, fun human being is all about. It's really easy in today's world with the phones and the social media, and even right here, right now, in this digital space that you're watching this video. It's easy to just fall into this digital world with Pluto and Aquarius. We have to constantly remind ourselves, and every time we're going to have these Leo oppositions to Pluto and Aquarius, it's going to be like, you need to fucking get out of your little digital bubble and go out into the world, step out to the sun, have fun, listen to your heart. This is where our heart and our minds are trying to connect. So Mercury opposing Pluto, this is also thinking deeply about, like, man, where do we get caught? Like in these little digital spaces that, we get disconnected from the light. Mercury is trying to help us see the light and understand Pluto and Aquarius a lot more. And we have a better grasp of it. We had Pluto and Aquarius last year for, a moment. Pluto went back to 27 degrees, of course, went direct at 27. And now with Pluto retrograde and Mercury opposing, and we're about to have Venus opposition, and the sun's going to come into Leo before you know it. And we're almost halfway through Cancer season. But, this is reminding us, it's like, we can't just always sacrifice our true self, our true, raw, authentic self, just to, not affect somebody emotionally, right? Or we with Mercury and Leo, we have to speak our heart, even if people are offended. That's the thing. Like, if you have Leo placements or you're a Leo right now for the next 20 years, like, you're the fucking outcast. You are the outcast. Leo is somewhat of the outcast, and it's odd because it is the world that we kind of live in right now, where it is, things that are honest or truthful or of light seem to be the outcast, which is, really strange. But that's kind of the flip that we've seen with Pluto since 2008 moving through Capricorn. That's kind of the flip that we've seen with Neptune and Pisces, where things that seem to be made of light, are pulling us into this more disconnected space. And now we're starting to see that with Pluto and Aquarius. And with Mercury opposing Pluto, we're starting to understand it. Like, fuck, as much as this digital AI world, this dystopian Pluto Aquarius world is going to keep developing, we have to always remind ourselves that we have to stay in that true, raw, authentic space of the heart. We can't see Pluto with the naked eye. We can see the sun every day. Even if there's fucking clouds or chemtrails or whatever the fuck covering the sun, we know it's there. Pluto, it's just like, you would never know it's there. It's hidden. The sun is always there, no matter what. So, always showing yourself, always showing your true self, always showing your light, and always speaking your light and speaking your heart is so important. And that's what Mercury and Leo is just energetically bringing into us. And opposing Pluto is just remembering, too. It's like, hey, there are some people who are disconnected. There are some people who, are stuck or, disconnected from their light or disconnected from their heart. This is an opportunity to speak from that heart to maybe help others make those connections, too. And really, expressing that true love for humanity of, wanting to help people connect with that true source of their light and the true source of their soul and, what actually life is made of here in this physical world. Pluto has nothing to do with our physical world. The sun and the moon, of course, is what makes our world grow and lit. It's without the moon, the Earth would not orbit. And without the sun and the light, nothing would grow. So, Pluto, is very disconnected right now. It's very much offline, and with it moving back into Capricorn, it's moving into a different space. So now with Mercury and Leo, it's like getting back into that creative, true self. Venus is going to be there. The sun's going to be there. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics today. There can be this Mercury opposing Pluto can bring up some power clashes, but also help us find different ways of expressing ourselves and different ways of looking at humanity, right? Yeah, I think too. As much as it's like, technology is evil, this and that. That's not necessarily the case. It's more of, not forgetting where you came from, but also being able to utilize technology in a balanced way and not forgetting your true self and the source of why we exist, right? And it's not technology, right? But to be able to do cool things and connect with people in a whole unique way, it's so mind-blowing how instantaneously we can connect through technology. It's really epic, just the way things are. But it's also showing us, it's easy to get lost in that world, especially with Neptune here and Saturn teaching us about what it really means, what reality truly is, and what the divine truly is. So with Neptune and Saturn and Pisces, it's like, giving us this picture of this ultimate, multi-dimensional, spiritual, vibrational frequency. It's showing us that exists, that's the highest realm of our existence, is that non-physical feeling and connection to something that is greater than us, that we are all a part of, and that's where we all come from, right? The technology is just an extension or a reflection of our. That's how I've always, maybe not always, but that's kind of how I feel about creativity in general and technology, because technology is a creative invention. At least so it seems. But to me, what it feels like is like when we're creating music or we're creating art, it is like we are just reflecting the cosmic waves, the cosmic energy. It's like, you can look at the chart and you can look at the sky and you can look at the movement of everything. It's a song, it's a dance, right? So the act of creating music or dancing, it's like we're just reflecting that, and that energy is coming through us, and we're just channeling, what we are a part of. And that's how I feel about technology too. It's like maybe we are in some simulation, maybe we are in some computer program. Who knows? But I think there's a message in our own creation. If we look at our creations and say, this isn't something that just came from nowhere, right? It's almost like our consciousness is recreating itself, right? It's like if there are creators of this reality or of this universe, they had to engineer it. So us, doing that on a microcosmic level, us creating a computer or some digital technology, that's us recreating what we already exist in some way, shape, or form, as much as music is a recreation of just the cosmic energy. We're just channels. We're just mirrors. We're reflecting what we are a part of through our creativity. That's how I feel a lot of the times when I look at creativity or creation or technology. Technology is very creative. People who are coders or whatever. It's a very creative expression. I know some people who are coders who are also musicians, and will say like, hey, it's like I get the same kind of creative intensity from coding than I do from creating music. So there is this relationship between technology and art and it's all connected. But I think too, like with Mercury opposing Pluto, it is like thinking deeply about technology and creativity, and expression and the relationship and what it truly is, like, and the source of that. Like, nothing comes from nowhere. Everything comes from something. No idea, or most ideas are just inspired. Like every creative idea I've ever had, musically, in any sort of way, I express myself through music, and astrology. So the way I express it is through the people who've inspired me, and the people I'm like, oh, I love the way this person expresses themselves musically. Or I love the way they write songs or the way they play an instrument, right? And I think too, like all the great astrologers that I have studied, or, it's like every person has a different way of delivering it or a different way of understanding it. Some people use whole signs. Some people use Vedic charts. Some people use Placidus. Like some people use Porphyry. Some people are Hellenistic astrologer. I like all of it, and I think it's all relevant, but it's like, we're always using things that already existed, that we are a part of, that inspire us to create new things, and that we will inspire others to do the same. So when we're getting into Leo and Aquarius, this is the conversation, especially with Pluto here. So over the next 20 years, we're not going to see celebrity culture and this idea of creativity and art, connected to that's already been dismantled. Maybe not fully. Somebody the other day commented on my Instagram, one of my videos, they were like, oh, I can't wait till the age of Pisces is over. It's like, well, we won't be here. Okay, of course, the precession of the equinox happened in 2012 when the poles shifted, and now, we're facing the constellation of Aquarius for the next 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 years. I don't know. It varies. Different opinions everywhere. But it is, if you look at every age, if you go back to the age of Gemini, that went to the age of Sumer and Egypt, and, there was this gap between, Sumer and Mesopotamia and what became Egypt, and, how language developed through the age of Gemini, and, when we got to, the Egyptian civilization and the age of Taurus and the rise of irrigation and farming and all of that kind of stuff, we could trace early irrigation back to the age of Taurus and in Egypt. Egypt was not just some desert, and there's always a gap in the ages, even when the equinoxes precess, there's always a gap, if you look at the history and you look at the events, it's usually hundreds of years before you could actually see what was actually going on during those time periods where it seemed to be the events that were taking place at this time, it's you could say that they've this civilization has left the previous age fully. And it's usually after hundreds of years of, it is if you think about this, it's like when the sun comes from, when a planet comes out of your 12th house into your first house, then it is once that planet comes out of your 12th into your first, you got to clean out the gutters, right? The 12th house. Once you come into your first house, or when a baby comes out of the womb, it's the same thing. When a baby coming out of the womb, or a planet coming out of your 12th house, or a transition from age to age, it's similar. It's similar in a way of, there's always this moment when you come into the next era of, breaking through and tearing down, what was left of the previous period, before you're fully in it, right? So, when a baby comes out, the placenta and the layering and the umbilical cord, you have to cut, and then once it's finally cut, then it's, you're separated from your mother, and then you're on your own, right? So it is, that's one of the most traumatic experiences of our lives anyway. That probably is, if you want to think about it, that probably is the most traumatic experience. And this goes back to Jeffrey Green's work and Pluto and all that shit, and, separation and trauma, very Pluto, right? But it is, that's what life teaches you, is that, we are unique individuals and we do have to do things on our own. So it is that very traumatic experience when that umbilical cord is cut from the baby to the mother, where it is that's probably the most traumatic experience we can experience. And I really love Jeffrey Green's work getting into Pluto and looking at Pluto in that way of saying okay, separation, trauma, source, where do we come from, how do we get here, that the cycle of creation. So I think thinking deeply about a lot of these things, I know I just kind of went into many different things, but with Mercury Pluto opposition here, it is thinking deeply about these kinds of things, of creation and creativity and technology and that relationship and, the opposition to that and what that looks like, how the next 20 years are going to be different. We won't fully be in Pluto and Aquarius until next year. But I think every time here, we're going to have Venus and the Sun oppose Pluto before it goes back into Capricorn. Fully come September. So the whole dynamic is totally shifting now with Neptune and Saturn retrograde, planets starting to move into Leo. We're almost halfway through Cancer season by the end of this week. So, I know I just went into a lot of crazy shit. But I have Jupiter in Leo. My Jupiter's 3 degrees. So Mercury's on my Leo. Pluto's opposing my Leo. So, and I have Saturn in Aquarius at 5 degrees opposing my Jupiter. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to be on my Saturn and my midheaven over these next few years. So intense, exciting transits. What do we got the 6 of Cups today. So it is, with all that Leo energy and the Cancer energy, this is the summertime vibe. And it is. I think it is too. With Mercury in Leo is also reminding us, yes, thinking deeply about the more intense shit. Some of the stuff we just kind of went into. And not being afraid to have to make tough decisions. Especially when it's for yourself, or when you feel like your true self is not being received, or it's being denied or gatekept. Leo doesn't like to be gatekept. Aquarius is the gatekeeper, in my opinion. It's like, if you don't think like us, you don't talk like us, you don't look like us, you can't come into our club, right? And Leo's just like, fuck you. I got my own club. I got my own fans. I don't need your I don't need your group, your ideas, right? Leo has its own ideas. It wants to express its own ideas, but also with being reminded too that we also have to work together and communicate, and see other people's perspectives, in order to really have a deep connection with other people and listen to others. And it goes both ways, but also staying in that youthful energy and that youthful creative energy, and bringing in and bringing down the youthfulness. We're in the heart of the summer. We're in July now, so enjoying the heat, bringing the fire, speaking the fire. Right, with Mercury and Leo, it's like you want to be able to speak passionately from the heart and from the soul and from truth, most importantly, and being able to present the factual information and present the evidence, with Jupiter and Gemini, because we're going to, Mercury sextile Jupiter as well. So with Jupiter in Gemini, Mercury's ruling sign, and then Mercury in Leo, it will be sextiling Jupiter. So, this is going to be a very expansive time. Our words can be very expansive. And I think people who need support and need help to break through walls and break through some of their own places where they get stuck, I think your words can be very valuable right now and very inspiring. I think with Mercury and Leo too, inspiring people, inspiring others, but being raw, being truthful, even when you have to go against the grain and even when you're against all odds, because Leo facing off with Pluto over these next 20 years, it may seem like Leo's against all the odds, right? Or all the odds are against Leo. So, but that's not necessarily the case. That's an illusion. Pluto can also be an illusion, because sometimes, when you're looking deep into a dark space, you like almost conjure up thoughts in your mind. Like, oh, what is that? Is there something in there? Did I just see something move? I'm like, no. A lot of that, you can make a lot of that shit up in our heads, right? Same with Pluto and Aquarius, about how crazy and insane the world is right now and what the possible outcomes of that is. We can go to the most insane dystopian places that are fucking dark, So this opposition with Mercury to Pluto is reminding us to stay in the light, have fun, but also don't be scared to go into those deeper spaces, but be truthful and factual and be honest, With Saturn and Neptune retrograding in Pisces, honesty is a big deal, and making honest assessments about your reality and being supportive of other people. I think with Mercury and Leo opposing Pluto and we'll trine over to Jupiter, inspiring other people, I think, is one of the most important things right now. And, there could be a lot of pressure right now with Saturn retrograde. And I think it could be easy to get overwhelmed if we start thinking about the bigger picture and we kind of lose sight of the moment, right? So being in the moment and being present and not being too far out into the future can really help us stay in that flow state. We still have Venus in Cancer. Venus is going to trine Neptune. So there is still this flow, and there's a little friction as well. The current is strong, and sometimes it might feel like we're swimming up the current or we're trying to paddle against the current. And definitely with Saturn retrograde, we kind of are right now. But revising, reviewing things, and being objective towards the past 6 months, really. And being objective since the last time Saturn went retrograde and what happened, what did we create, what did we build, what lessons have we learned? Thinking deeply about these things with Mercury and Pluto. I think, being creative, being raw, being truthful, being light and fun and inspiring, but also thinking deeply about the future, the possibilities, and also where things just aren't realistic or are not serving the light. So, anyway, good to be back with you guys. I will see you all on Thursday. I think it's today's Tuesday. My bad. Anyway, I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.